Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted as a Zoom meeting pursuant to the provisions of Assembly Bill 361, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. This meeting is being live streamed on the CCTA website. The chair will call upon members, staff, and other speakers by name. Please speak clearly and state your name before giving comments or remarks. Persons participating via Zoom with their cameras enabled are reminded that their activities are visible to viewers. Members participating by Zoom wishing to speak should physically raise their hand and unmute their mic when called upon. Members should mute their mics when done speaking. Citizens participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the Raise Hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone, and the chair or staff will call upon them at the appropriate time. Citizens will have 3 minutes to speak. After 3 minutes, staff will lower their hand and mute their mic. Participants via phone will be called upon by the last 4 digits of their phone number. It is requested that public speakers state their names and organization, but providing such information is voluntary. Written public comments received in accordance with the teleconferencing special notice for public comment guidelines are printed on the meeting agenda. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they should raise their hand and the chair will call upon them at the appropriate time. All written correspondence received after that and during the meeting will be entered into the record. A roll call vote will be taken for all action items. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
All right, thank you, Colin. Jackie, next, can you conduct a roll call, please?
Yes, Member Bana? Member Boardman? Member Costa? Member Costa, I think you're muted.
I'm here.
Oh, thank you. Member Karimi? Member Keeshan? Member Pinkham?
Here.
Member Greenblatt?
Here.
Thank you. Member Riker? Member Riker?
Here.
Thank you. Member Simmons?
Here.
Thank you. Member Wilson?
Here.
Thank you. Chair Sarmiento?
Here.
Thank you. Okay, so we have Member Bana, Member Boardman, Member Karimi, Member Keeshan, all absent, but we do still have quorum, so we may continue. Thank you.
All right, thank you,
I didn't
Jackie.
hear my name called. Sorry. Am I a member?
I did, Member Olson, I did call you Olson.
Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Did I? Here.
Okay, thank you. Sorry
All right.
if I thought I called you. I'm sorry about that.
All right, we'll go to the next item, item number 2 on the agenda, which is public comment. Jackie, have we received any public comment?
We have not received any public comment.
Okay, is there anybody in attendance wishing to speak during public comment on an item that is not on the agenda? If so, please raise your hand and Colin and I will call upon you. Okay, I don't see any hands up. All right, so we'll move on to item 3, which is the consent calendar, which includes a summary of actions from April 25th, 2022. Are there any changes, comments, etc. from the committee? If so, please raise your hand. All right, I don't see any hands raised. If anybody from the public would like to speak on this item, please raise your hand. And Jack, I'm assuming there's no members of the public.
No, I do not see any hands raised.
Okay, thank you. So next I'll need a motion from one of the committee members.
All right, so moved.
All right, I have a motion by Bill. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, a second from Kirsten. All right, Jackie, if you could conduct a roll call vote, please.
Okay, Member Bonna, Member Boardman, Member Costa,
Yes.
Member Karimi, Member Keeshan, Member Olson,
Yes.
Member Pinkham,
Aye.
Member Greenblatt,
Abstain.
Member Riker,
Yes.
Member Simmons,
Yes.
Member Wilson,
Yes.
Chair Sarmiento.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes with majority vote. And we have Member Bonna absent, Member Boardman, Member Karimi, Member Keeshan, all absent. And motion passes.
All right, thank you. So now we'll move on to the regular agenda items. The first item, item 4, is an action item to nominate 4 members from the CBPAC to serve on the application review panel for the OBAG 3 program and call for projects. This is going to be item is presented by CCTA staff, both John Huang and Colin Clark. Yeah, so John, Colin, if ever one of you wants to start up with this item.
Sure. So the One Bay Area Grant Cycle 3 program was released on Friday. That is on the CCTA website. And from the last meeting, you remember the presentation that we shared and discussed. And today the opportunity is to vote on nominating 4 members to serve alongside the TCC 4 members to serve on the review panel.
Just to follow up on Colin's report. So the email was released to all the cities this morning, city managers and all the public works and planning folks. We're looking for forming a review panel consisting of 8 members. We've selected 4 members from the coordinating committee, TCC, already, and we're looking for volunteering of 4 members from this group. Once you volunteer, you'll be committing to evaluating the projects that comes in and prioritizing the project list to be submitted to our board in September.
All right, thank you for that update, John and Colin. I do see, I was going to ask for comments or questions from the committee. I do see Bill Pinkham's hand up. So, Bill.
Yes, what kind of time commitment are we talking about here?
That's a good question. So we've preset the, let me look up the dates here. So the applications are due July 15th. And so the period between July 29th to July 18th and 29th is when we'll set up the review panel. So between that 11 days there, we'll survey the group and see who's available to meet. The plan is to set up a date. Time commitment wise, it really depends on how many applications we receive. we've set the criteria is that each city is allowed to submit 2 applications each. So that alone is like, I don't know, 19 times 2. And then the county is allowed to submit up to 4 applications plus another application for safe route to school, programmatic, and the FAS projects. So altogether, you'll be looking at quite a number of applications, at least 40, 45 applications. So the timing wise, just to answer your question, Bill, you'll need to review. We're asking each committee member to review on their own and score it, and then we'll have at least one meeting where the scores will be. There'll be a discussion within the group, and then prioritization will occur. At least one meeting, and that meeting could take at least I think 2 hours. You can plan on that.
Saying only one meeting? I'm more confused there.
One meeting, we can have 2 meetings. And that's just my initial thought, is just to have one meeting, but we can have, the idea is we can have a couple meetings. I take it back now. I haven't really thought this out completely, but we can have one meeting where the project sponsors can come in and present, and then the second meeting to score.
Okay. I'm on the county committee that evaluates TDA funds, and it's a much more elaborate process, as Ole would can confirm, with number of meetings and valuations on the side. So apparently this is not quite like that, I guess.
I don't know how the county does it, but I've managed TDA programs for many years in San Mateo, and the process should be similar. I can check with the county staff to see how they do that evaluation process with CDA. But right now, we want to get the packets, the applications to folks as soon as we can, quick turnaround. And then we'll have arrange one meeting, like I'm just kind of repeating myself. The plan is to have one meeting to have all the cities, all the applicants come in, and probably have, depending on how many applications each city may have, up to 5 minutes per city to present their projects. And then we'll have a second meeting for discussions. So it allows all the panel members to discuss the project. And we would ask that all the individual members rank the projects before the discussion, and then you can share the scores at the meeting. That's how, one way to do it. That's how I've done it in the past. And I'd be glad to entertain any other methods that you have experienced before and that you want to propose.
Are we going to have to look at the projects on the ground? That's what we do with TDA, is we have to go out there and look at the project. Well, of course, we've been doing virtually, but
due to the short time constraint, the timing, we can try to squeeze something in. Again, it's really not only the short window that we have to look at the projects, but the number of projects too. So I think factoring those in, I can't tell you right now, but we can certainly plan for it. If the group desires a field visit, maybe. Now let me ask you this, Bill, since I'm not familiar with this, the Contra Costas TDA. Do you go out and visit all projects, all applicants, or just the major ones, or just the ones that
we go visit all the projects? Well, we did before the pandemic, and
okay.
Now what's happening is the people who present the project, or the jurisdiction, has a representative and on the site, and then of course we see it virtually. So essentially, yes. Quicker when you see it virtually, of course, than when you're going around. But right,
would that be done on a weekend, on a Saturday or something like that, or? A week?
No, says, only it's kind of whenever we can work it out. There we have three meetings at least to look at projects, critique them, and then in December, and then the following spring, and then various jurisdictions can tone up their project requests, and then we look at it on the ground, and then we make recommendations, and then it's even more complicated. It goes on to the MTC. I won't go into that, but
Oh, right. So I'll
John,
check.
I just have to jump in because that's not quite the TDA process.
okay.
So I can elaborate on that. Sorry, Bill.
No, go.
So the TDA process isn't exactly apples to apples with this, because there's a limitation on the number of applications a jurisdiction can put in. So you're talking, there's only one application per jurisdiction. Maybe the county gets 4, I can't remember. So there's a lot fewer applications to review.
Okay.
So the other thing is you referred to, like in December, you submit, that's actually a preliminary screening for jurisdictions that don't have pedestrian and bicycle advisory committees. So you don't have to submit early for that review unless you don't have the committee. So there's a lot that, as we've gone on in time, jurisdictions now have those committees. So there's fewer of those, but that is a very worthwhile process because you get some additional input from the potential reviewers. Just a couple things. I'm here as an alternate today for Corey Riley. So you haven't seen me here. That's why. But I am on the TCC and volunteered for the review committee there. And one of the comments I made there, and the TCC members I feel supported, and I'm going to make it here too, is, this is a very different process that's proposed than what we've done in the past. And sorry, I'm going to jump back to my TDA thing. John, the other thing is the TDA field reviews were by staff and were during business hours, so that staff would be available to meet the TDA group on site. Okay, sorry, jumping back. I'm all for improving the process, but I just think the numbers here don't quite work out to have, I think it's unrealistic, at least from a staff perspective, because if every project submitted, and let's say there's 45 projects submitted, if they each got 5 minutes, that's 3 hours and 75 minutes or 3 3/4 hours, I should say, to get through that. And that's like being super efficient, which I doubt that people could really limit themselves to 5 minutes. And I think it's unrealistic to expect a staff person to, and I say this, as a staff person, I think it's probably unrealistic too for members of the public, but to review 45 applications and give them the depth of review that they really deserve. Because if you got 45 applications, and you're reviewing it, I usually take, I'd say 15 to 30 minutes to review an application. That's half a work week. Potentially. And in the past, and John, maybe you want to check in with how we've done reviews at the CCTA and modify that version. We've divided up the applications among the committee members, and then there's some overlap so that you get some consistency from group to group. And I don't know, I just think, I don't know, I hope everybody applies and we get 45 applications, but I just think it's a really big concern that this process is, I don't want to give any application short shift because I've I'm swamped, and I can't do it in that time frame.
Yeah, thanks, Leah. Thanks for that comment, and thanks for a little bit of background. Yes, it's a monumental task, and that's what you'll be signing up for. I've been through this with.
I've been through this in the
applications.
county, John, for
Yeah.
over 15 years,
Yeah.
and we've never had a call for projects where we've had to review 45 applications as an individual.
Right.
So I think you need to check in with people.
Right. Again, what I'm saying is that I'm speaking from experience, so this can be done. But I'm saying is, I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying this is one proposal. I think if I know what you're talking about splitting up applications, and then divide and conquer, and then try to get more time on each applications. But then the downside of that is that not all evaluators are looking at the same projects.
Right.
And I feel that
It's not realistic if you have that quantity. I mean, maybe if you have a smaller quantity, but I'm sorry, I guess I'm just one voice, but this is a big change in the staff level commitment that's been asked from the CCTA over the course of, actually, I've been in this county for 20 something years. So I strongly suggest you consider a modified version of this.
Well, today's action is we're looking for 4 volunteers. I'm hearing comments for the process, and I appreciate that. And at the end of the day, we'll work on a process that works best, and then accommodate making sure that all applications get reviewed comprehensively, and then the ranking at the end of the day, we're ranking projects to compete against the region. It's not just within the county. So we want the best projects, and knowing that there might be a lot of projects, I would hope the cities do due diligence, bring forward their best projects, and then to go through the process of competing. That way we can assure that we get our quote unquote fair share for the county once MTC decide which project to rank to fund. Thank you. I think I see some more hands.
Yeah, and just want to I know Kristen's been waiting here. Kristen, thanks for your patience, but go ahead.
Well, I have a few questions. And I do sort of agree with what Leah was saying, but I also understand the need for consistency and consistent reviewing. Anyway, what was the time schedule you said? When is this? People have summer vacation, so.
Yeah, so applications are due July 15th. That's a Friday. And then July 8th, we essentially have July 18th through July 29th, that window. Okay. To maybe at least squeeze in 2 meetings, one for the presentation and one for the evaluation and the discussions amongst the panel.
Okay, and then what's the process for avoiding conflict of interest with the various cities evaluating their own projects and things like that?
Right now, I'm not proposing any conflict of interest. I mean, we can have some kind of document that city staff signs, but I don't think it's necessary. Again, I've been through the CDA. I've managed the CDA for over 10 years. So I know what all the intricacies are and what all the issues are. But I would hope that staff and the ones that are signed up for the panel are due diligent and just be objective in evaluating the project. And again, everything with 8 members, with 8 scoring, hopefully things will wash out, and you can and then when the scores are put side by side, you can see which ones are the anomalies in the score, and we'll take the average score at the end of the day. And then there's different ways to do it too. We can take with 8. I think with 8 scoring panel, we don't need to take the top and the top and the bottom scores off, but we can just take the average.
Okay, that's it for now.
All right, Bill, and then I'll go to Leah after, but Bill first.
Sorry, I just lost it. Are we going to be giving our opinion that for partial funding of these projects? We do that with TDA. We say some projects are great and they deserve full funding, and we say some are, hey, wait a minute, this isn't a bicycle program, we don't want it. And more often than not, we decide to give some money. It may be a good chunk, but it varies from request to request. We're going to do that with this evaluation.
Yeah, that's a great question, Bill. And I want to emphasize that the dollar amount, I think we're talking about 56 million, $57 million. So 56.8 million, right? So we have to put a package together of projects. There'll be around $56.8 million. Once we submit that list of projects to MTC, they're going to whittle it down to $47 million. Mm-hmm. Right? That's the 120% of the targeted amount, right? So I think it's up to the scoring committee whether you want to trim down or adjust the ask amount from the project sponsor, from the project. I think it's really up to the committee, the review panel.
That can be a long process, by the way.
Yeah, and then that's a judgment call in some extent, but yeah, I would leave that up to the panel.
Okay.
Leah.
John, can you reconfirm? I thought, going off of Kirsten's question, I thought that to avoid that conflict of interest, that you wouldn't, if you were on the review committee, you wouldn't review a project from your own jurisdiction?
Yeah, you will.
You will review. Okay,
yeah.
That's different.
Different than what, Leah? I'm sorry.
Well, I thought I understood in the material that went to the TCC that you would be recused from reviewing a project from your own jurisdiction.
Okay, I have to check back on those notes. I don't know if it was, I don't think I have to, let me check back on the notes there.
Okay.
If it was contradicting, then we'll clear that up.
And John, that was going to be my question as well. I think in my past experience, yeah, you're typically recused from reviewing your own project. So it'd be good to get confirmation on that.
Okay, I will.
Oh, and I should add one other comment. We've been discussing the TDA, review process, and just FYI for you, John, Jerry Fahey at the county, he manages that program. So if you have any questions on review, you can reach out to him. Any other questions or comments for CCTA staff on this item?
Do we have 4 volunteers?
I'll get to that. I'll get to that part, John. Well, I just want to see if I get any other questions or comments, and I see Oli's hand up. So Oli, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Some of the members of this committee are citizens and some are staff members. Are we going to specifically direct the amount of participation to one or the other, or we want to specify a certain amount of each, or how are we going to do that?
That's a good question, Bruce. I wasn't prepared. Colin, can you pull up the list of volunteers from the TCC? I mean, ideally, it can be made up of public and staff members also, especially from the CBPAC group, because I think TCC is all staff. So as far as geographic, we definitely want to have the panel members to kind of disperse around the county, but then again, if that's not possible, we just need the 4 members. And again, I really fall back on the honor system and trying to, hopefully you review the panelists will review the projects objectively. That's really all we're asking for is that's just to be not looking too parochially at your own projects, but we're looking at countywide, because at the end of the day, we're competing against the other counties too. So that's all I asked for the panelists.
And John, I can quickly summarize the TCC review panel members that were nominated. The City of Concord, WICTAC, Celestine Doe for BART and Transit, and Jerry Fahey for the county.
Okay, so with that, you can kind of see who was on the 4 members already. So that's just to repeat what Colin mentioned: Concord, WICTAC, BART, Transit, and the county. So we would like to have a few more cities. I don't know what cities online right now, but yeah, basically, aside from the jurisdictions that you're representing, we just need, since we're going off of the committees and not necessarily a group that has all jurisdictions represented, we're just looking for somebody, 4 members from this group, regardless of what, if it's we're trying to avoid, I mean, since we have county representative already, we wouldn't want a representative from the county, and likewise from WICTAC or Concord. So if that really narrows it down to folks that aren't associated with these jurisdictions. If you want to really spread out the membership of this panel.
All right, John, before I go have a further discussion about volunteers, I just want to extend the comments to any members of the public. I do see we have members of the public here. So if any members of the public have any comments or questions on this item? All right, I don't see any hands up, virtual hands up. So yeah, John, we'll go back, and now I guess we will, I guess I'll extend that question, or John's question, out to the CBPAC members here. Are there any CBPAC members who would like to volunteer on the review panel? If so, please raise your hand or speak up. I'm hoping somebody raises their hand, because we might have to select.
Member Boardman from the city of Walnut Creek is one person that had said she can step up.
But Colin, she's not at this meeting.
Oh, John, I know she couldn't make the meeting today, but I think she expressed interest in participating as a review committee member.
So now we need 3.
Oli, is that a hand up that you are interested, or is that a question?
That's a hand up. I'm interested, but I have one concern, and that is I would much rather read these applications on paper than on the computer. So I volunteer with that strong request.
I thank you, Oli. I think we'll work. If you do confirm to volunteer, we could reach out to CCTA, and I'm sure staff, and sure we'll find a way to accommodate your request. Or maybe I'll leave it up to Colin and John.
No, we will definitely put as many packets together for you, Oli, as we receive them, and we will do a quick turnaround and hand deliver it to you if we need to.
Thank you.
So if in that case, so is that confirmed then that you'd like to be a review committee? Okay, so I have that's a second person. So we we have so far Oli and Smadar. I just need 2 more CBPAC members. And Leah, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I can't volunteer, but I do want to make a pitch that even though I said all those comments, I'm hoping to shape the process, but it is a very exciting thing because you can potentially change the outcome of and see projects funded throughout the county, like really critical projects. And it's a great opportunity to see how different jurisdictions submit applications, and it's a good learning experience to participate.
All right, thank you, Leah. Caitlin, I see your hand is up.
I do have a question. So I unfortunately won't be in the office those 2 weeks, but is it possible, I mean, I'd like SWAT representation on the review committee. Is it possible for our alternates to step up? Would that have to be, like, if I reached out to her today, do we have to decide in this meeting, or can I reach out to her to see if she's available?
John, Colin, do you have?
I mean, if you can, right. I mean, we would like to have a confirmation at the end of this meeting that there's 4.
Yeah, I can confirm. I think we need to know in advance because we do have to make a motion on the item that we have 4 members nominated for this piece.
Okay, thank you.
Unfortunately, thank
But
you.
couldn't you say, like, subject to checking with the alternates availability? Like, I think that's better than having no one.
But then what happens if?
Well, you'd have no one if she doesn't check with her staff person. I mean, isn't 2.5 like better than just 2?
Through the chair. Oh, so I would I would suggest that you nominate if you can.
Kristen, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I will somewhat reluctantly agree to volunteer if none of the cities present want to step up. For example, City of Pittsburgh is on the line.
Do we have a person from Pittsburgh?
I believe they have to be a member of CBPAC though.
Oh yeah, okay. So
Sorry.
CBPAC.
Oh, that's not a member. Okay.
No, hi, I'm just, thank you for allowing me to observe your meeting. I'm just following the agenda and seeing what the committee does.
I'll be out maybe 2 of the days during those 2 weeks.
Member Nat Fan from City of Pittsburgh had expressed interest, but I do understand that he's not present.
Oli, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I live in Pittsburgh. I am not in any way denigrating Nat Fan. He's a wonderful guy. But should we as an organization have 2 people from the same jurisdiction, even though one of them is a citizen and one of them is a staff member?
I think that's a great point, what I alluded to. We'll try to avoid that if possible. So since you live in Pittsburgh, then we probably wouldn't, even though Nat's, is interested, we probably won't have Nat on the panel.
And to be clear, I'm a citizen representative of Transplan on this committee, even though I don't live in the Transplan area, so.
Sean and I'm an alternate today for Sean Dugan, and he and I are actually both out during portions of that week. I don't know if it's a possibility that we share a review responsibility where we could divvy that up between us, since we're both going to be out for portions of that 2-week period.
Yeah, thanks for the comments, Susan. I don't want to take set that precedent, unfortunately, because things may be get more complicated down the road, and I just don't want to go down that path. But if I guess we can work with your schedule, but again, it's such a tight schedule that I understand the committee's hesitation to volunteer, and I completely respect that. Yeah, just the commitment and time, and then of course, though, that's a lot of folks that go on vacation too. So yeah, I like to stick to one person.
Understood. And I believe Robert just stepped off for a minute to take a call. So as Sean's the vice and as his alternate, I think he asked me to call on folks. So anyone raise their hand and do that.
I believe we do still only have 3 people that have volunteered at this point, so we do need one more person to partake if someone's willing to step up.
I guess in lieu of not having the 4th person, I want to kind of toss this out there. If 3 person is all we get from the CBPAC, then we might just go forward with 3, and then there'll be a panel of 7 folks.
Sorry, who's the 3rd?
I think I have Oli, Smadar, and Kirsten.
And member Olson as well.
Yeah, Oli. Yeah, Oli.
This is Robert. Actually, I do have a question for Caitlin, because Caitlin, said she was going to be, SWAT would be interested in possibly participating, but you might want to get an alternate. Is that something you could check up on in the next half hour or so? And can we maybe vote on, because according to Jackie, it sounded like we needed to vote on something today. Is that something maybe we could defer this item to later in the meeting and then maybe hear something back from Caitlin? Is that an option?
I can definitely call the alternate, now during the meeting and see her availability as well. As long as that's no guarantees, because I'm not familiar with her schedule. She works for a different agency, but I was just offering if that was something that needed to happen.
Yeah, and it would be nice because SWAT is the remaining RTPC that's not subregion that's not represented, is currently not represented on the review committee. So that's why I'm kind of pushing for it. But I guess I'll leave it up to Colin and John if that's something that's acceptable, maybe voting on this, hearing back and then taking action on this item later in the meeting.
As long as you have a quorum, I mean, you maintain this quorum until the end of the meeting. I don't want another experience like TCC again.
Okay, that's a good point, Sean. So I guess maybe that's a question for the CBPAC members. Are anybody, because I think we just barely have a quorum, so I don't know if anyone needs to leave early.
Why don't we vote on the 3, and if the 4th comes through, we can have another another motion to add the 4th person. Or like I said, make the motion subject to the availability of a SWAT person.
And Robert, would you be able to send out right now a flash email to the whole committee that says we're about to vote and we're shy 1 person? And if you're on another call but seeing this and you want to volunteer, could you jump on for 5 minutes for a vote?
I guess for now, or for an action now, or for if we defer to later in the meeting, is that?
Well, I'm saying if we defer this vote for the end of the meeting, we're all still here. And you sent that out right now and said we're going to vote at, say, 12:15 or whatever.
Yeah, I guess it's more of a procedural administrative question for Colin and John, and Jackie, if that's okay. If we could, if we defer the vote to later in the meeting, is it okay? Like, as long as we get a quorum, if I could send, if one of us could send something out and just make sure we have enough members still in the meeting.
I'm okay with it, Chair. But Jackie, confirm it. Yeah, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. Whoever suggested that, just defer it to the end of the meeting, but and then we can.
Yeah, we can move to another item. We can move to the other items, and then when we get to the last item, we can come back to this item and see if there's any updates. Maybe Member Costa has gotten a hold of the alternate from SWAT, and maybe we can move forward with that. And also, if someone says on email, like how members Boardman had said she was interested, that's okay. They don't actually need to physically attend as long as they're a member on the CBPAC, and they've noted that. It can be just a part of the nomination when the motion goes to add their name in there for part of the motion. And as long as it passes, then it's okay.
Okay, so thank you, Jackie. So why don't we do this? Why don't we defer the item, and Caitlin, if you'd like to reach out to your alternate, and if Caitlin, once you hear confirmation either way, could you just send an email to Jackie, Colin, and me, or Jackie, Colin, John, and me with what the alternate's availability, and maybe Jackie, if we hear back earlier from Caitlin, we could just jump. We don't have to wait till the end of the meeting. Maybe we could just jump back into this item and take a vote once we hear back.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. So, pending this, we'll defer this item to action on this item till later in the meeting. So for now, let's move on to item 4B, which is an informational update on the Regional Safety Data Dashboard and Interactive Map by MTC. And this item is going to be presented by Colin.
Thank you, Chair Sarmiento. So if we can maybe go to the Caltrans item to be respectful of their time.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah, and I know Greg's been waiting patiently here. So yeah, we'll do that. Why don't we jump to item, let me scroll down here, item 4D, which is an informational update on the State Route 4 bike highway study, which is by Caltrans staff. Colin, I'll let you lead the discussion, then maybe we could jump to Caltrans after. So Colin, take it away.
So Greg from Caltrans is here with us today to give a presentation on the bike highway study. It's a planning concept study that has some focus areas on State Highway 4 that are being looked into a little further. And that's what was going to be presented today to the group for Greg to lead.
Thanks, Colin. Thanks everyone for having me this morning, and thank you for adjusting your agenda to get to my item earlier. Is it okay if I share my screen? Is that something I can do?
I believe you should have capability of doing that, but let me know. I think
okay. It looks like it. I just have to, I have too many files open. Don't look at that. Here is my presentation. Okay. Yeah, so again, thank you very much for having me this morning. My name is Greg Curry. I'm the Pedestrian and Bicycle Branch Chief at Caltrans District 4. And for the last couple months, I've been the lead on the Caltrans side for our Bay Area Bike Highway Study, taking over for Elliot Goodrich, who you may have known or worked with in the past. And so I want to provide you with a quick update on kind of what the study is, if you've never heard of it, and where, what our schedule and timeline looks like, but maybe spend more time, so a small number of minutes on those things, and then a slightly larger number of minutes on the specific concept that we have developed in Contra Costa County. It's on State Route 4 at Bailey Road. So I'll start with just a brief kind of recap or introduction. So we are doing this bike highway study. It is for the entire 9-county Bay Area, but specifically looking at state highway corridors. We are identifying international best practices with recommendations for the Bay Area and California context. So we do want it to be applicable throughout the state. We did some corridor suitability and feasibility analysis in all of the state highways in the district. And then we developed and have presented some bike highway concepts as case studies that we hope can be, provide guidance for different development types and different, place types, land use types, highway types that we can then use as a basis for designing a bike highway in any part of the Bay Area or potentially any part of the state. So I have a timeline here. I'll ask you not to look at the part on the bottom that says, what year and what season, because as you can see, winter 2022 is already over, but we are still working on this. We're still working on this. We got our funding extended, and so now we expect and need to wrap up by June 30th. So we don't have a lot of time, but we are making good time, and we're just about wrapped up. So finalizing the design of these concepts, which are, I would say, 99% finalized, and we are also working on our final report. So very quickly, what are bike highways? They are high quality, direct or dedicated and long distance bikeways. So serving those, maybe 2 to up to 10, maybe even longer mile bike trips. That's the focus. Obviously, someone who's biking a shorter distance or a longer distance can, of course, use them, but that's really the target user. They support higher speed travel, larger volumes of people bicycling, and connections to regional destinations. So design principles, they should be dedicated, they should be low effort for bicyclists, they should be as direct as they can possibly be, and they should provide those longer distance connections for inner city travel or long distance travel within a single large city or unincorporated area. So this is our guiding principle in the Bay Area and California. Highways may be best thought as route overlays intended for a specific type of user rather than a single specific facility type. And that's referring to, in California, we have our 4 bikeway classifications, class 1, 2, 3, and 4. A bike highway is separate and kind of complementary of those. I think we see an ideal bike highway as having a lot of class 1 off-road path with maybe some class 4 separated bikeway that's on street but has vertical separation. But we do acknowledge, it's not a distinct kind of facility type, and it may kind of change as you move into different conditions. So we have gotten some public and stakeholder output so far, talking, the importance of separation from vehicle traffic and also from people walking or using a mobility device, connection to job centers, residential, commercial centers. I think that's pretty unsurprising. Definitely we need to think about and focus on access for low income and disadvantaged communities. And we also acknowledge that the term highway is not always a positive term for many people, especially folks who you often bike or want to bike often. And so, for the purposes of this study, we are calling it a bike highway study. That's what our contract says, but we have it in mind that once we actually go and build a bike highway project, it may not necessarily use that term just because of the negative associations for a lot of people. I know you can't really see these. We did, so we first did a suitability score looking at, where will a bike highway serve the most number of users and serve disadvantaged communities the best. And then we also looked at what's feasible based on existing Caltrans right-of-way, or where we can maybe acquire right-of-way at a lower cost without displacing people. And so we kind of developed, I think we had some corridors that rose to the top, And of course, as with any planning process, we acknowledge it doesn't mean that the ones who aren't on the top of our list won't get built or aren't important. It just means, if we have infinite funding and we're told by the governor or the Caltrans director, hey, go and identify and build a bike highway, the high scoring ones would be the ones that we would look at first. So I will quickly run through. I have 6 concepts here. I want to focus on the one that is in Contra Costa County. And so I'll actually, when I get to that slide, I'll skip it and just quickly run through the other 5 just so you can see them, and then end with the Contra Costa County slide. So this is, we wanted to show an elevated bikeway that crosses over a challenging roadway. This is State Route 29 in Solano County in Vallejo. And so we wanted to provide an opportunity to cross over a busy off-ramp, actually on and off-ramp on a structure. This is actually the one I'm going to skip and come back to. We wanted to look at what do people think about riding in the median, providing a high quality separated bikeway in the median. This is actually El Camino that we're showing here in San Bruno. But obviously there are a lot of state highways where, maybe riding in the median is the best option. Although I will tell you, when this was presented, I don't think it was super well received. But it doesn't mean we're going to throw it out. It just means, it's not going to be the first option necessarily that we jump to when we go to propose a bike highway. Then we have in a more rural setting, showing kind of a class 1 that's running parallel to the state highway, and then has a partially protected intersection and connects. These connections are important. It connects to regional class 1 shared use paths and also more local class 2 bike lanes. Then we have a highway interchange. This is actually in East San Jose. Is the concept that we're showing here, but obviously there are a lot of land uses and interchange types in the Bay Area that look like this. In this concept, we wanted to show an undercrossing of in this case, it's the local road. We wanted to provide, show that maybe we can make that well lit and look really nice and inviting, and make sure that you can see the other side when you're about to bike through. So that it kind of provides grade separation without providing a scary situation or foreboding situation for bicyclists. And of course, the connections to local and regional routes as well. This is in San Leandro. It's on State Route 185, East 14th Street, and this is a pretty standard class 4 bikeway on the highway itself, on the state route, showing a fully protected intersection because it's proposed to connect to local class 4 on the cross street. And then there's also bus service, pretty frequent bus service on this corridor. And so we were showing bus islands as well, thinking about how do we provide bicyclists high quality access when there's also a lot of other users and a lot of things going on the street. And then let me go back to our local concept. So as I said, this is Bailey Road. It's near the Pittsburgh Bay Point BART station, connects to existing paths. And so what we wanted to show here was kind of a long distance connection. You can see that orange line stretching out into the distance. Obviously the connection to transit and BART is extremely important because that provides greater regional access. And then we also wanted to provide this concept of, trying to, like I said, creating a route that's more direct and faster for bicyclists. And so that's what I'm showing here at this intersection is, traditionally we would say, well, if you want to cross an intersection without having to dart across a couple lanes to get into the left turn pocket, we would make you do a two-stage left turn movement. And in this case, we wanted to show a concept that provides a dedicated bicycle crossing that's diagonal across the intersection. No conflicting movements, stop all motor vehicles, and allow bicyclists to make the more direct connection that they're looking for. And so one other thing before I stop and maybe take any comments or questions if there's time, is I did want to say, you know, these are concepts that we wanted to look at how can we apply what we've studied to different place types and different facility types. And so the idea is, well, here we have, you know, a BART station near a freeway that connects to regional class 1 paths. Well, there's a lot of situations like that in the Bay Area. And so, you know, can we take this and apply it in at Dublin Pleasanton BART, you know, or other similar situations. And so likewise, you may have seen other concepts that you thought, I really like that, but it's not where I live. I would like that to be where I live. These definitely are meant to apply. You know, they're not meant to be exclusive to the locations that we're showing, which is why we didn't put a lot of geographical markers here. And then the other thing I want to mention is that if you see this and you think, well, that's great, but you know, they're going to develop this lot over here, or you know, it's great, but I don't like this one part. I want to emphasize that this is not a project. It's not under development. It's not funded. This is a concept, and so we acknowledge that we can take comments now and certainly you know, modify accordingly. I think this was presented to some of you a month ago, and I don't think your comments have yet been incorporated. So we certainly see this as kind of a working draft, and even once it's in the final report, we definitely are not going to come in when it's time to build this and say, all right, well, it's in our report, this is exactly what we're going to do. We acknowledge that the project development process does require us to do additional kind of really focused, localized outreach and find out, you know, what works for the local community. So this is not set in stone, even when January 30th comes and it gets finalized and published in our report. So I'll stop there, and if there's time, I'm glad to take any questions or comments.
All right, thank you for that presentation, Greg. And I guess one request from me, if you could unshare your screen.
Sure.
So I could see all the faces here. Thank you. All right, again, Greg, thanks for that presentation, and opening it up for any committee members if they have any questions or comments. Bill?
Yeah, I've noticed that most of your, or at least, excuse me, concept seems to be bicycle highways alongside of regular highways. I have maybe a personal bug about that, and that is whether you're going over the Bay Bridge or or at least as far as you can go on the Bay Bridge, or San Rafael Richmond Bridge, and I've ridden down from Sacramento to Davis. There is a little road by 80. The traffic noise is obnoxious, frankly. Have you thought about any alternatives that are a little further away from freeways?
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, for the purposes of our study, we, as Caltrans, see ourselves as facilitating regional travel, but also wanted to focus on the land that we have control over, that's in our right of way. And so that's why our focus has been there. I think we'd certainly be open to partnering with a local or regional agency to provide something that's a little more off the highway. I certainly hear and acknowledge your point about the highway noise, and I think in one of our concepts, although it was probably not super evident in the quick slide that I showed, but we did talk about some kind of noise protection, either a sound wall or increased, you know, landscaping with trees. So it's definitely something that we, yeah, I take your point. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it certainly would be a good thing to have such a path in areas where you can't get around the freeway, and there are a bunch of those. You know, that would certainly be much better than not having anything. So, whether or not there's noise, so that would be good as long as you're open to that.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Alternative choices.
All right, thank you, Bill. Ole, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you. Ole Olson, regular bicycle user. I don't own a car. Hi, good afternoon, Greg. Thank you, Robert. I love the concept of a diagonal crossing of the bike trail, bike highway, bike path across a major intersection. It takes a lot of time to wait for the traffic signal, to use the crosswalk and do that twice, or in some cases 3 times. So yay team on the diagonal crossing. Now the median, that's another concept. I hesitate to use the term hate, but I don't like breathing the fumes of the automobile. Even though we're supposed to be moving in the direction of more electric cars, we're a long way from there right now for a lot of reasons. The concept in your illustration of the bike path along the south side of Highway 4 between Bailey Road and San Marco Boulevard, I would love, love, love to see that built. I regularly ride my bicycle to Concord and Walnut Creek via going over Willow Pass. And there's a wonderful bike path on the north side of Highway 4 between Evora Road and Willow Pass Road in respectively Bay Point and Concord. So this segment would connect up. And right now there is an existing path, but it meanders its way around through Bay Point. There's nothing wrong with riding through Bay Point, but as a distance cyclist, I am much more interested in getting there fairly directly, as long as I don't have to breathe the automobile fumes like would going down the median would be. So thank you very much for all the work you're doing.
Thank you, and thank you for that comment about the riding in the median. That it's good to hear more opinions on that. I think that was what our stakeholders for that concept said as well.
Aaliyah.
Hi. I like this idea. I think that it's great that you guys are planning for that. And full disclosure for the other people, I'm on the Caltrans Pedestrian Advisory Committee. But so my question is more pedestrian focused. You know, like you showed the Richmond San Rafael Bridge path, which is like a jointly used pedestrian and bicycle path. So I don't like, does this study, is it looking at retrofitting existing facilities, or would it be new construction? And then sort of related to that is, you know, you talk about dedicated facilities for bicyclists, but in some locations, maybe not in the middle of nowhere, but at some locations, I could see where it might be desirable for pedestrians to have the same kind of improvements made. So how, I didn't see any talk about how you would handle the dedicated facilities if you're looking at wider facility types to accommodate both and to physically separate them.
Sure. Yeah. So in answer to your first question about whether it would be a retrofit or a new facility, it depends, but I anticipated it would be a combination of both. And so the study looks to identify, you know, what is a 10-mile corridor, for example, that has a lot of demand for either existing bicycle use parallel to it, or a lot of demand for short trips that can be made by bicycle. And then says, all right, well, where are the weak links in that bike network? You know, where do you have to travel way out of the direction, or where do you have to travel in a scary street? And so it seeks to address those. And so in some cases, it may be that, hey, a 4-mile stretch of this is actually really nice to bike on, but it just maybe it could use an extra foot of width for the bikeways. And so I think that would be maybe the focus there. And then there may be a half-mile stretch where there's nothing. It's really horrible to bike. You have to go, make a dog leg movement or something. And so that would probably focus on a new facility. So it would be a combination of both. As far as interaction with pedestrians, for the bike highways, I think obviously the design user is a bicyclist who is planning to ride a little bit faster, a little more experienced, but we don't want to exclude either bicyclists who are less fast or less experienced or comfortable, and also pedestrians. And so the idea is that everything would be made ADA compliant. It wouldn't necessarily be a pedestrian focused facility, but it would meet pedestrian standards and needs. And I know it wasn't called out in one of the concepts, but it was one of our concepts. We did the design. This is the one in East San Jose. The design is, I think, for a 16-foot wide path. So the idea is to, for bicyclists who just want to zoom right through, they kind of have that area, probably with delineation, so that there's not, this kind of tension between slower and faster users.
All right, any other questions or comments from the committee members? Greg, I do have one comment, and if I recall correctly, I think this, I guess the corridors that these bike highways would exist, I guess you want it as close as possible to the existing highway or freeway, correct?
That's what the study is looking at, yes. But
okay.
As far as project development, we're not committed to that.
Okay, understood. But I just want to make that comment that, you should check, I think, or if available, if there are any existing, trails or bike facilities that maybe could be used, using an existing one instead of building an entirely new bike highway, if Caltrans would consider that, as they move forward in this study.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. I think if it's not, I don't know that it would be made explicit in the study itself, but I think during the kind of project identification and development process, we would certainly be open to using existing facilities.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll move to the members of the public if there are any questions or comments from members of the public. If so, raise your hand. All right, I don't see any virtual hands raised. So I think with that, Greg, thank you again for your presentation.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And I think with that, I think we've heard back from Caitlin about, possibly having a SWAT representative on, or a fourth member of the review committee. So let's move back to item 4A and the review committee item. So Caitlin, if you have any updates on the potential SWAT representative.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. So I was able to contact the alternate for SWAT, and she said that she would be available to also sit on the committee.
And Caitlin, if you could identify who.
Yeah, my alternate is Darlene Amaral.
All right. Thank you, Caitlin. So, or maybe I'll have Jackie repeat the nominations here, so it's clear for everybody.
Sure. So the 4 members that have been nominated are Smadar Boardman, Bruce Olson, Kirsten Riker, and Darlene Amaral.
All right. Thank you, Jackie. And before I go to ask for a motion, is anybody else, anybody in attendance here have any questions or comments? Please raise your hand. All right, seeing none. Okay, we'll move and see if I get a motion on those four members.
I'll move item.
Oh, sorry.
I think it was Bill first, actually. So I have a motion by Bill and need a second.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, second from Caitlin. So Jackie, if you could take a roll call vote, please.
Okay, Member Bonna, Member Boardman, Member Costa,
Yes.
Member Karimi, Member Keeshan, Member Olson,
Yes.
Member Pinkham,
Yes.
Member Greenblatt,
Yes.
Member Riker,
Yes.
Member Simmons,
Yes.
Member Wilson,
Yes.
Chair Sarmiento.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously with Member Bonna, Boardman, Karimi, and Keeshan all absent.
All right. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So now we've been jumping around the agenda here. We'll go back to item 4B, which is an informational update on the regional safety data dashboard and interactive map by MTC. This item will be presented by Colin.
Thank you, Chair Sarmiento. So the Regional Safety Data Dashboard, CCTA, has been working closely with the MTC on this for the last more than a year.
And maybe we'll just wait a second here while Colin get back on this. Okay.
Apologies, I have a sick child at home. So this regional safety data dashboard should be available within the next month or so. And so at a later meeting, we'll be able to provide more details and hopefully, share more information.
All right. Thank you, Colin. Does any committee members have any questions or comments for Colin on this item? All right. I don't see any hands up. Any members of the public have any questions or comments? All right. Seeing none as well. Thank you, Colin, for that update. The next item on the agenda is again from Colin. It's an informational update on the Regional Active Transportation Network by MTC. Colin?
Thank you. So the email was sent out, I believe, last week for each of the jurisdictions to have one last opportunity to provide input on the draft network that MTC is proposing for an active transportation network regionally, and that should be available also similarly within the next month or so with more information from MTC.
All right, thank you, Colin. Any questions or comments from the committee members? All right. Oli?
This is general comments from committee members, yes?
Oh, no, it's just questions or comments on the item C, the Regional Active Transportation Network.
Okay, I withdraw my request to speak. Sorry.
No problem. All right, if no questions or comments from the committee, any members of the public have any questions or comments on item C? All right, seeing no hands, we'll move on. We've discussed item D, so we'll move on to item E, other business and information sharing. Items, actually, to be more specific here, item 4E1 and 4E2 is just a reminder for jurisdictions to submit their grant applications for funding and comments for review. Sorry, 1 second here. And actually, Colin will actually provide more information on item 4E1 and 2. Colin?
Yeah, so the IIJA investment, the Infrastructure and Investment and Jobs Act, IIJA, also known as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. Sincere apologies, everyone. The Safe Streets and Roads for All will be a 5-year grant cycle with something like $150 million max going to the state of California each year annually for 5 years. Chair, I think we should probably just wrap up. I apologize.
All right. We'll actually 1 second here. Let me pull back up the agenda. And actually, since we are in other business information sharing, is there any other items that CBPAC members would like to discuss for this in regards to this item? And Ole, I saw, yeah, you mentioned, raise your hand earlier. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. On Bike to Work Day, I spoke with Nat Fan, the city traffic engineer of the city of Pittsburgh, at one of the bicycle energizer stations. We had a long discussion, actually. He's a wonderful guy. He's a bicyclist also. And he mentioned that he was discussing with the county to do a joint application between the county and the city of Pittsburgh to connect bicycle facilities through Bay Point and Pittsburgh. And I would like to announce that I, as a bicyclist, think this is a wonderful idea. And he mentioned your name, Robert, as part of that application process. And as a member of this committee, I would love to see you and he move forward with a joint application. It seems to me, if I can use the descriptor, it's about time to say, it's about time communities got together and had our bicycle facilities go in a cooperative manner through our communities. The Caltrans got it together years ago. Their facilities go through our communities in a coordinated way, and bicycle facilities should too. End of rant. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ole. And just to provide a little more detail, yeah, Nat from Pittsburgh and I from the county, yeah, we just discussed potential, opportunities to to apply for the OBAG 3 grant, seeing if there are any potential bike ped projects, that would, overlap between the two jurisdictions. So, but thank you for the, thank you, Ole, for the kind words. So, all right, any other questions or comments from committee members? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to our final item, item F, upcoming subjects for discussion. Are there any upcoming topics that committee members would like to discuss at a future meeting? Bill.
This is not the future, but just out of curiosity, since we have a little time. How was everyone's Bike to Wherever Day? we had a very happy time in Richmond. We had a lot more riders than I expected at Richmond BART, which is what I do. How were things in your area? Pass out a lot of bags? I now have enough to make a quilt myself, but anybody else? Well, okay. Just thought I'd.
I see Ole, you have your hand up.
Yeah, at Nat Fan's Energizer station at the Delta Dienza Trail crossing of Railroad Avenue. I visited there toward the end of his afternoon stint, and he said he had twice as many people there this year as he has had in previous years.
Wow.
He said he counted all bicyclists who went through, whether they stopped or not. This was on Railroad Avenue and on the bike path. And he counted pedestrians who stopped and talked, but not those who ignored his entreaties to come on over and talk. Twice as many this year as in previous years. That's
great.
Wonderful. And I'm glad, Bill, that you're saying you saw that also in Richmond. This bodes well for bicycling in general.
Right. I thought with BART, people are slowly getting back onto it. And although when I'm on it, I notice a fair number more people, but I was kind of dubious about how many bicyclists we'd have, but very happily surprised.
Aaliyah, you have your hand up?
Yeah, our WICTAC had a station at the Del Norte BART station in El Cerrito, adjacent to the Ohlone Greenway. I don't have historic data to compare it to, but we had 118 people either go by, most of them went by, like 95 bikes, I remember, just went by because maybe they were at Bill's station and they passed us. But what was interesting this year that I hadn't experienced so much is we had people who maybe previously would have been biking to BART, but they were, it was really biking to wherever because they weren't going to the office. People were running errands on their bikes and they stopped by the station. So they were, and they identified themselves as working from home at this point. So that was just kind of a novel thing that we noticed.
All right.
That's another reason to call it Bike to Wherever Day. I think that's going to stick too, especially if hybrid work sticks.
Yeah, we saw, I'd say about half were recreational riders just out for the nice day. We probably had over 200 people visit our station in the morning and probably a similar number in the afternoon as well. Bike Concord did a big free taco giveaway in somewhere along Monument, and they reported 220 people showing up. So the tacos were a big draw.
What was your station? Where was your enterprise?
Well, we were at the Iron Horse and Canal Trail intersection. Big one. But my biggest observation was actually that I would guess at least half the bikes were e-bikes this year. Maybe more than half. So that was different from 3 years ago.
Really?
This is Robert. I do have a question, question for the group. I'm curious what your thoughts were, because this year Bike to Work Day was held on a Friday, and historically Bike to Work Day has been held on a Thursday. And I wonder if that changed from a Thursday to a Friday, if that's better or worse, or is there much of a difference? And I hearing the comments so far, because I guess my original thought was, Friday, a lot of, at least for the county, there's a lot of staff who work, who have Fridays off. So I don't know how successful having Energizer stations on a Friday would be, but it sounds like you've captured a lot of recreational cyclists. So maybe it's not a bad idea to have it on a Friday, but I'm curious what, committee members' thoughts were on Energizer stations out on a Friday, or having Bike to Work Day on a Friday.
I was told that it was to link up with the national Bike to Work, Bike to Wherever Day. That's why they chose it, but I don't know if that's anyway.
Yeah, I think that's why they chose it, but I think we might get more riders on a Thursday. That's my opinion. But
okay, thanks. Anybody else have any comments, questions on Bike to Work Day, or just any other items in general?
I'd
Leah?
like to get a sense of what people thought about the virtual goodie bags, because I went online and I looked at what was given away, and it, like, I was so used to telling people, like, you can get your Chipotle burrito, but there was no Chipotle burrito that I saw. It just, like, I don't know if there was much draw to go to the goodie bag, the digital goodie bag.
There were more real objects in this one, I think, than there were last year. But yeah.
We didn't even promote a digital goodie bag. And I have to say, I was thrilled to have way less paper and junk. So I thought that was a huge improvement.
All right, because technically this item F supposed to be upcoming subjects for discussion. And I guess any last comments or suggestions for items for the future discussion, Bill?
Our discussion here brought up something I've been wanting to talk about for a while, or a subject that would be good, is electric bikes. There's all kinds of issues about speed on trails is one of the biggest ones. I, being an ancient guy with a bad back, finally broke down and got one. And it's very easy to do 15 miles an hour or higher. Mine pedals as well as assists if I want it. And so that becomes a real tough issue on trails, which supposedly are 15 miles an hour limit. We've talked about this problem in Richmond too, on the Bay Trail especially. So I would like to see, I don't know, some of the various aspects of electric bikes being talked to, because as who was it that mentioned that they saw far more, and I see many more electric bikes around too. And some of them, of course, are the type where you don't pedal at all, which I can't quite get behind. But and they can really zoom. So and oftentimes you don't get people that had ridden much at all on non-electrics, and so might be a little more callous about how fast they're riding on trails and stuff. So anyway, I'd like to see that as a topic sometime.
All right, thank you, Bill. I'll talk with Jackie and Colin about potentially adding that item at a future agenda, or discussing it at a future meeting. All right, any other comments, suggestions for items? All right, seeing no hands up, we'll move on to item 5, which is adjournment. The next meeting will be on July 25th, 2020.